And going to call the meeting into order at 6:06. I'll do a roll call of the board members. Obviously myself, if I'm the Smith, I'm here. Claire present, here. Rebecca Wolf. Rebecca,
I don't hear you guys very well. And I'm sorry, I feel like maybe I should just come over there.
yeah,
Should I?
sure. Yep,
Okay, I'll be there in like 10 minutes.
okay.
Am I gonna be able to get in the door?
Come into the
We'll let you-
side here. The door is open on the side, on the J Street side.
Okay. All right, I'll see you in 10.
Okay. Marie Bell, here. Rebecca Moore, here. Robert Davis.
No, he's working.
Robert Davis. Michael Bruno.
He said he was gonna be on, but maybe later.
No problem. That's no problem. Okay.
How are you? All right.
Hello. Okay, we'll move right into order of business, regular meeting. Can I get a motion to approve meeting minutes from April 14th, 2021, our regular meeting? I have a motion by Claire. Rebecca for a second.
Oh,
Linda, I'm sorry. Can you hear us?
He sent his stuff.
Yeah. Oh, right, Shaheen.
Yep.
Can you hear us okay?
We can hear you better if you like try to direct your voices towards the camera. I mean the computer.
Where's
We
the,
can hear you, it's just not very clear from back there.
where's the mic on
What
here?
about now, Shaheen?
Okay.
Yep, we can hear you pretty well as long as you try to like, direct your voices towards us.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Can I have a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry, was everybody able to look over the accounts payable? I'm sorry, for April 2021. Shaheen, you can share that on the screen if you would like. I know I looked over them. If anyone else needs to look over them, please let me know. I will definitely slow down. And it is in the draft, it's in the packet.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Every once in a while, you gotta add one.
New York State, the first top.
Oh,
Yeah. In the first place.
all right, can I get a motion to approve the accounts payable for April 2021? I will make a motion. Okay, can I get a second? Okay. Marie for the first motion and Rebecca for the second. Oh, all in motion, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 512 of the HHA and City of Hudson NSREDERDA Clean Energy Community Program Grant Contract. Yeah. And Shaheen, you can put that on the screen as well, so people know what we are actually talking about. And that's the resolution 512.
Were these shared with me like in previous weeks? I didn't get any documents this week. I didn't get any documents this week.
Okay.
We're gonna give a brief description, Kenny.
So the city of Hudson and the Hudson Housing Authority partnered on an application to NYSERDA under the Clean Energy Communities Program Grant. And it was for the replacement of approximately 50 refrigerators. Not only will it provide new refrigerators for the residents here for the Hudson Housing Authority, but it's also a way to reduce the Housing Authority's carbon footprint and reducing our utility costs for the authority. The city of Hudson, on behalf of the Housing Authority, submitted the application. The application was approved. And so now it's left to the Housing Authority to implement the grant. And this contract represents that partnership and that agreement to implement the purchase of 50 new refrigerators and to provide those for the residents here. So we have a resolution to that end that will codify the agreement and the contract between Hudson Housing Authority and the city of Hudson.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay.
The contract is for we have 2 years to implement the program. We'll be way ahead of that schedule. We probably will be able to complete it within 6 months. But along with the contract, there are other requirements of the grant. We have to introduce to the residents agencies that will provide workshops of how residents conserve energy and things of that nature. So we'll bring some agencies in to assist the residents in how to be mindful of conserving energy. Food safety, also part of that. Along with some other reporting requirements. We have to document the amount of energy that we're saving over a period of this grant. So we'll be developing a spreadsheet and monitoring all the electricity that we use, so we can show a comparison of one for that. Yes, there's a fact.
Can we speak a little louder?
Oh, sorry, when I called suppose if you said maybe 6 weeks ago, there were none to be had in the boat, because it has from Florida, and unless you ordered, there wasn't in there, it was in there too, but you know, they have 2 days from there, so, and there weren't that many. So it's just another, you know, that's just one of them that helps people in the model.
We're having a hard time hearing you guys on this side right now.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Okay, so, I had a question concerning the organizations that we're gonna be working with to, you know, give this information to residents on conservation. That's my question. How will we be selecting those organizations?
Yeah, I think we'll do a local search first, obviously. And we'll work in partnership with Hudson, maybe Hudson knows some agencies that are local, and some of the local housing agencies, maybe they've already partnered with some of these agencies, but yeah, we'll do a local search first, and then we'll expand it if we don't find anyone to a regional, but certainly, you know, there are some agencies here already. That provide food services and food products to the local population, which I'm sure will come. Rolling Grocer is a perfect example of them coming in, and I'm sure they can satisfy that part of the requirement of the grant. Certainly, yeah.
I have a suggestion, it's not about the privilege, but what if, one of us use our phone to call into the Zoom, turn our video off and mute it at, and use our phone on the table and like. Instead of trying to shout.
Right, hold on.
Yeah. Haven't heard anything.
Wait, Linda, are you saying you haven't heard anything?
I can't hear a thing.
Okay, so this has been like, I think we'll need to just run through some stuff again for you, Linda, right? We want to make sure. I'm glad, because we got to figure this out. Claire just had a great idea. We're going to have better sound in 1 second, but I want to make sure that you have good minutes. I'm sorry that this has been difficult. You want to run through, do you want us to kind of run through things again for you, Linda? Can you hear me now?
I can.
What the fuck, optimist?
Hi, everyone.
Optimist.
It'll be fine.
Sorry about this delay. We're currently trying to get the computer up and running. I'm currently working off my iPhone.
Yeah, while you guys wait, go get something to eat. There's pizza.
Yeah,
chicken,
exactly.
I put these two young ladies down here, so, not only that they can get the, experience of being a part of the meeting, but also that they can, voice, what they want to, hear from their opinion as a former resident and as a current resident.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming.
What's your name? What's your name? It's Titi and Maya.
Hi, TT. So happy to see you.
You're in,
Yeah,
right?
I'm in. Linda, can you hear me okay?
What's going on? Why can't?
Can you hear me, Linda?
Are you on mute?
I'm
Nope,
on.
you're on.
I'm on.
I can hear you fine.
Is Linda here?
Linda's there, but she's.
Oh, she's muted.
Well, she's not
Yes.
muted.
Oh, look.
She's not in it.
Oh, there she is. There she is.
Linda,
Yes.
I'll give you,
Back on the
There she
screen.
Linda, I'll give you a quick run through for new business number 1 for the meeting minutes for April.
I can hear.
Okay. Marie Bell
I
made the most. For number 1, Linda, of new business, April 14th, regular meeting. Marie Bell made the first motion and Rebecca Bohr seconded.
Okay, Marie.
And then it's the same thing for number 2.
No, I thought Claire made
No,
a
Claire,
motion.
I thought Claire did number 3.
Oh, okay, that's possible. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
And then for number 3, Claire made the motion and Rebecca Bohr seconded. And at this point, you would be all caught up because we are now on number 4.
Okay.
And we can move right on.
I feel like this, we
Oh,
just really
so-
celebrate the meeting.
Woohoo.
So we get rid of-
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 4 being resolution 513, the amendment to the public housing in section 8 administrative plan waiting list policy to include county residency requirement for new applicants. And Tim can give you a little run through of why this came about. We learned that we are one of 3 counties in the state that section 8 waiting list is open and active. So we've been flooded with applications, which puts them at the top of the list and puts the county residents at the bottom. So we're now doing a resolution to stop that and to put county residents first.
Can I ask a question? I presume that the list up until this moment cannot be
Well,
altered.
that's a good question. So I think the board has to decide what they
Yeah.
want to do. Do they want to start at this point with anybody being added to the list, or should it be retroactive to everybody that's on the list? So whatever the board wants to decide, but we should make it clear in this
Yeah.
resolution how we want to do that.
Yeah.
What's the general preference?
It sounds to me like it should be retroactive, right? I mean, because the list, like if we would like to prioritize people, you know, yeah.
I agree.
Tim, are there any sort of like unintended or unknowns that we should be aware of in doing it retroactively?
No, I think that's a fair way to do it,
Okay.
honestly.
I guess the question that I would have is there somebody from the HUD office that we work with that could help get those folks into something closer to home so that they maintain a close to being approved standing? Instead, like, we're not knocking them back to
Right.
500 when they were just at 30,
That's
because that's dangerous for families.
Yeah, I don't know if HUD's gonna have that level of involvement.
And that's something we should take into consideration with that decision.
I think what's happening is, we have a dramatic influx of folks from downstate coming in, porting their vouchers out of the city up to this area. And it's not really affecting the waiting list as much as it is impacting the availability of housing for local residents in the city of Hudson. So if there are any, available housing units, they're getting, gobbled up from the residents that are porting their voucher up from the city. And then, of course, we actively have 20 people on the waiting list looking for housing through the Section 8 program.
But what are the stipulations? Like, once their voucher gets approved, do they have to stay in the county, or are they using their voucher somewhere else and they're just getting approved for Section 8?
Well, they got to
so
stay in
they
the
can
city.
have it? Do they have to?
Yeah,
For how
yeah.
long?
Huh?
For how long?
Well, they have to find the housing in the city, and then they have to stay here. I think it's a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then they can port out.
But when they port out, what's that little, like if they port out and go back to the city, we would be paying like
Yeah,
triple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
we still pay. Yeah, we pay, right.
And
So-
I've been signing some of those checks. We pay quite a bit
Yeah.
out. Yeah,
and that's a concern too,
yeah,
because a lot of people will do that.
yeah.
They'll
It's
come
quite
up-
expensive actually
Is
for
there,
the
I
housing
guess the
authority.
other consideration would be if there are people who like are from Hudson originally, but they left and they went somewhere else. That's complicated.
It
Anybody
is.
could say that.
Yeah.
Right. And then like making them prove that is like way beyond our capacity.
Then you end up
Yeah.
having like a million different criteria and then
Yeah.
that can be,
Yep.
I don't know. So that's where
I
I
think we
guess we
can
can
we table
table,
it?
yeah, we absolutely can table it. We're gonna table resolution number 513, 513. And we'll
So-
add it to next month's agenda.
okay. So between now and then, we're gonna do
Yeah.
a little bit. of-
Investigation of
Okay.
what we should properly do and how we should properly handle it.
All right. Is there any way that we can pass a resolution to stop just for the next month? Any additional,
We can make a
You know,
motion to do
just-
anything.
just so that we can,
to
yeah, just to not add any more names while we're
Oh.
making a
close the
decision?
waiting list.
Close the waiting list
Just for
because
a
we're
month.
like the only 3 in the state, right?
Yeah, can we do
So
that?
can't we, other people have, so we obviously can, but do we have to make a motion to do that or?
So can we temporarily close it until we make a long-term decision for next month?
So that would be resolution number 514.
Okay.
So let me just write this down.
Will you be closing it out to everyone for the month or just to residents outside of the county?
That's what I was thinking, residents outside of the county, just residents outside of the county,
Okay.
which is what the resolution that was anyway.
I just wanna-
Yeah. So we're not passing the resolution, we're just temporarily doing it until we decide what to do. Would that be okay, Claire? Do you think that that's all right?
Yeah. I'm just concerned about if we like,
The ones that are
I'm in
already on
support
it?
of what this means.
Yeah.
But it's the people that are already on,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what we're gonna do to their circumstances
Yeah.
if we suspend it retroactively.
So let's just not add any more.
Yeah.
Do you want to
For
put
now.
a
We're-
time frame on it, like 3, 6 months?
Oh,
Do you indefinitely?
a week, a month rather,
We
until the
can't do it
next meeting?
pending next meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, can we send it?
yeah, till next meeting.
So that'd be June, whenever.
I don't have on my phone, I'm using it. So, we'll do Marie, you want to make the motion?
Yeah, so it would be resolution number 513,
514.
sorry, 514, to suspend temporarily the section 8 list for
Out of county
Non-local.
resident.
for non-county residents, yeah,
Yep.
just until the next meeting.
Yeah. So I need a motion
Anybody-
in a second.
I move,
Marie motioned it.
Marie.
she made the.
I made
She
the-
resolution.
made the
just
resolution, guys.
So
I make
Claire's
a motion.
motion.
Claire made the motion.
Yeah,
I'll second it.
And Rebecca.
Rebecca will second. All right.
You have a question?
Yeah,
If somebody,
Can you state your name first?
my name is Jeanette Wolford, I'm a reporter for the Columbia paper. If somebody's on the waiting list, most waiting lists have it, that the longer you are on the wait, the earlier you get on the waiting list, the higher your priority. And is that the way that these waiting lists still work?
That's why we want to suspend it, because we don't want, if somebody is close to reaching their approval for their voucher, if we retroactively suspend it, then that would change their standing on the waiting list. So they would no longer have priority. So that's why we want to take a minute and look at it.
Yeah.
Well, why would a new person on the waiting list have priority over someone who's been on the waiting list for a long time?
Yeah.
Because, whether they're a county resident or a non-county resident.
Well, I think that the question is that, like, if somebody from out of the county were to apply to be on the waiting list, and they came in the office, let's say at the same time as somebody that's from the county, like, that person from the county would be behind. They wouldn't have priority. The person that's lived here and is in immediate need of housing where their life is set up wouldn't be in front of that person. So, like, we're trying to make sure that the people who live here have priority.
Like, as new members of the.
Right.
Yeah.
Who have been on the waiting list
Right.
for years still have priority.
Right, but we're also acknowledging that the people who are coming here to apply for Section 8 are doing it as a survival tool. They're trying to find the quickest way to get approved. So we don't want to put them in a more insignificant situation where now they have to reapply somewhere else and figure it out. Like, we want to make sure that it balances out somehow. So we want to take the time to figure out how everybody is affected by this decision we're making.
Okay,
Okay, indeed.
that was good. Moving on to number 5. Draft of the 2021-2022 operating budget proposal. July 2021 approval date.
And I just gave everyone a copy of the budget to
Yeah.
just get eyes on it.
Mhm.
We obviously don't have to have any discussion on it. I know you just got it.
Yep.
But I just wanted you to get it far in advance so you can look at it, digest it, and, any questions that you have, we can have a conversation, and we've got a couple months yet. But I wanted to get it out to you as early as possible so you could take a look at it.
Is there anything on here that we should pay particular attention to, do you think?
Actually, it ended up being a pretty good budget.
Okay,
And because we did our conversion, we're pretty solvent with our budget for the next several years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
cool.
And if you have any questions over the course of the next couple months, you can email those either to Ravonda and she can filter them to me, or you can ask me directly. But everybody should be aware of all the questions that are being asked, because everybody might have some of the same questions. So.
I actually have a quick question
Yeah,
about this. So does any of this budget include either the money that we are borrowing from M&T Bank, or does it include reimbursement? So this is purely based on revenue.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
We haven't, the last page, I'm sorry, the third page. The
This
third
guy.
page, yeah, that reflects what our operating reserves are, but it does not include the amount we're getting reimbursed from
Okay,
M&T. So
Okay.
that'll change, obviously,
Got it.
when that happens. I didn't want to put it in there yet
that makes sense,
until we got.
until we actually have it. That makes sense.
But that's a significant amount of money.
It would be, yeah.
About, 600,000 that we're gonna be reimbursed.
Yeah.
That we spent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so look it over. If you have any questions, feel free. And then the board may even wanna create a budget subcommittee if you wanna decide to do that too. And we can meet offline with that subcommittee and go over the budget. And
Okay.
you can report back to the board, however you want to do it.
What? I got
got
it. I got it. I see.
Okay. All right, thank you so much for
Thank you.
this, Tim.
Yeah.
This will be also on the next month's agenda as well, right? And then we'll be able to pick through it.
Yep,
Is that
right
what
up
it is?
till July.
Okay. So we'll move right on to number 6, which is the resident commissioner election. At this time, we have 1 vacant seat, which goes until the end of October,
End of this year.
end of this year,
December. Yep.
end of December. And then we'll be having, so that'll be a special election. And then we'll be having our elections come up this December,
Yeah, for both-
correct, for
both seats.
for both seats.
So the seat or the ballots are open till the end of this month. We have 1 potentially interested person, Anthony.
Yeah.
We're communicating with him. He has expressed an interest, but certainly other residents have till the end of this month to submit their petition. They have to have 20, or actually we reduced
10.
it to 10.
Yep.
Yep. And of course, there's also write-in, candidates can write in on the day of the election too. It also allows for that as well. So that's where we're at with that. And I'll report back to the board at the end of this month and let everybody know who has submitted a petition to run.
Yeah, and just to say, anyone in this room that's a resident that wants to come sit on this side of the table, all you gotta do, it's just 10 signatures, you get on the election, you can come here, be a part of the direct decision-making that we're doing right now. So, it's open, we're waiting for someone else to be here. So just to say.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so thank you for that update, Tim. We are now going to be moving on to number 7, which is the update on the Tenants Relations Subcommittee. I don't know if there's really, which will be having that by Claire.
So the update that I have is, we haven't done much, but it's kind of dependent on the survey results and how we decide to move forward with HCHC. My initial vision was the creation of a tenants association that is not facilitated by the board for several different reasons that I've expressed a few different times, but I feel like the most power comes from tenants having full agency over themselves and being able to freely move and voice their opinions and fundraise for themselves and not have to answer to the board, but have the board answer to them. That's the goal. And I would like for HCHC to be able to provide the trainings necessary because they have that capacity and they have those resources. So that's kind of where I'm at. Everything is kind of dependent on how things move forward. And I think as we get closer to development, that it's gonna kind of begin to create itself. I think that whoever is going to commit to being on that committee with me until we figure it out, I would like to be involved in door knocking to get residents to apply for this open position and helping them receive the signatures that they need. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And
I can help you with
Marie's
that.
on the board, yeah.
Okay.
So Marie is the vice
Absolutely.
chair of that board.
Okay.
All right,
I mean, I think that if that's the issue of the training, we would have to, I guess what we would have to do is put together what would we need to do if we wanted help with that? How would we move forward with that?
Well,
The training for the tenants committee?
Yeah,
you said you wanted HCHC to
I do,
provide that?
because I don't want it to be, I don't want the board to have agency in it. Like
it makes sense.
right?
I understand the separating it out. I
Right.
do. So the question is, how would the board? I presume that now, maybe we need to talk in executive session at
Mhm.
some point about how we are gonna move forward with things like that. But I am curious, how much, the fiscal period ends what, in June?
Yes,
Yes.
end of June.
So we've spent, within the limit, obviously, for a non-RFQ contract under under 5.
Yep.
So we could technically, after June, use HCHC for discrete tasks like that, as long as we stay under 5,000, correct?
Right, so I think what Claire's saying, so she's looking to define a standalone resident association.
No, that's,
Basically a
that's,
nonprofit,
that I
Yes,
totally,
exactly right, so.
no, that I totally understand.
right, but they would pay, the nonprofit would apply for the funds to do that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Or,
so this is kind of like what I was thinking, we could have a trust that the HCHC would, or that HHA would end up with, would have an arm that's, I mean, I like that idea, actually. That the HHA would have a not-for-profit arm almost that kind of does its own.
Well, I
fundraising.
think she doesn't want any connection.
No, that's what I'm saying. It would be not, well, okay, it wouldn't be
You're saying the
HHA.
arm.
You're right, wrong word. It would be not HHA, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
and I think
Yeah.
that's the tone that's like Hoppinose is leaning in that direction. So it's not, it wouldn't be completely foreign, and they're doing it with the same people. So it's like a mirroring effect.
yeah.
It could bounce ideas off each other. It would look the same in both places, and it would cater to the residents. And there would be more, like, this community room would be utilized a hell of a lot more
So-
if that was the case. This would basically become their space.
Yeah.
And it would be effective because we don't live here. So we can't be the people in charge of what that tenant association even looks like. Like, even when I'm trying to jog my brain as to what tenant relations should do, like, the people that live here know, and they should be completely in charge of that. They should have full creative control over how we move forward. And there's people on the ground that are already doing that work. And to start from scratch with things that they've been doing for us and without us is just nonsensical to me.
I mean, that makes sense. So how would we structure that? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what's the path forward?
Well, you would have to submit a application to the state to create a not-for-profit corporation,
Yep,
which is pretty straightforward, and it's not that expensive. I think it's $75. And there's an initial application. I think it takes 2 months for the state to turn that around, maybe a little longer. That's easy to do, right? And that's straightforward. And then, of course, if you want to make it a 501c3, then you have to submit the IRS application to make it a true not-for-profit, which is a little bit more complicated. It's a 40-page.
but doesn't HCHC already have all this
Yeah,
status?
I'm just a little confused about why would we want to have or not we, but why would there want to be a whole other nonprofit? Because the nonprofit has to have a board, it has
Well,
to have like
so the goal is not to have HCHC be the continuous
Right.
folks running it. It's to give the new non-for-profit the tools to be
Okay.
empowered to
Okay.
run themselves.
Got it.
But you have to get somebody to get them there. Like, this is a group of people who might have never been involved in work like this,
Got it.
that we want to teach how to advocate for themselves, how to be on boards and hold office, how to teach financial literacy to their neighbors. Like, that's not a skill that just pops up out of the air. You need
Sure.
somebody that's existent
Yeah.
to do that work.
It's
And we've
an
been doing that.
empowering thing,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And there are a number of housing authorities that have not-for-profit tenant associations, and I've been involved with a number of them. And what they do is, once they become incorporated, they can apply for grants, they can accept donations, they can do fundraisers, they can have, a lot of times they'll do a number of events to raise money for their organization and for their.
It's like a booster club
Make-
for
yeah.
the.
Makes
for the
total
housing.
sense. I mean,
It's
it
like-
makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything that like have cleaning supplies on stock for back to school for the kids that live here, for emergency supplies to help with folks that might need background, or like it can come all out of this non-for-profit if it's run successfully. And we want to set them up for success. And this is something that hasn't been done in a long time, but could potentially be successful because there's no reason that
I'm
we
all
should be in
for it.
charge of that.
Let's
Yep.
do it.
Me too.
So what should we, how do we do that?
Well, I think we first define the board and get officers on, in the organization setup initially. And then we sit down and then we talk about how I just explained what we need to do.
Yeah.
I guess the only part I still don't get is like, that it seems like if there's no tenant association right now, right?
Right, so now that,
So typically it seems like it would form out of a group of people who are already formed,
well, once you have a direction, then you can get people to sign on, like, before deciding that we wanted to create a non-for-profit for folks, that like, how much of the development that's not happening can we talk about? How much can we ask them what they need and then provide them what they need and then have nothing left to talk about? Like, there was no point in having the weekly meetings because either people weren't showing up or they didn't want to talk to us. So like,
Well, that's
now we
what I
have something to say, well, we're trying to create a nonprofit tenant association. Would you be interested in being an officer of the board so that we can get started?
Makes sense.
All right,
So
thank
then
you.
and then the tenant is, so the not-for-profit will run itself, essentially,
Yes.
like it'll
Yes.
become a self-running.
And obviously, we're not gonna leave them out to swim on their own. Like, one of us is still gonna be involved and oversee the process to make sure that it gets off the ground running.
Sure.
That's what the chair, the committee is for, until they don't need the committee. And then we would like to bring in HCHC for all of the empowerment things
Mhm.
to make sure that they're set up for success and have a foundation. And then, it takes time, but it has to start somewhere.
I mean, I think that's a really good idea.
Me too. Any other questions on that? Thank you for that update, Fred. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Now we're moving on to the survey data from HCHC. The data has been completed. It is available. And at this time, we just need to come up with a time that us as a board can just like pick through this stuff. So that's where we're at with the data. It's here. We have it, and we just got to figure out what to do with it. Obviously, we can't do that tonight.
No.
So I figured we set a date and time for just a meeting on that. I also would like a meeting on just the RFQ as well.
Mhm.
Are we
So-
still doing our regular Wednesday, right?
Well, now, so basically, the subcommittee meeting for next Wednesday would be the tenants relations subcommittee if needed, or if they have nothing going on, what I did was I pulled like the development committee, you know what I mean? So that's what we're doing. We're using the subcommittee meetings on Wednesday as needed. So like next week, I figured we can do the survey data
Okay,
That sounds good.
fine.
because we need to dig into that first in order to be able to complete our RFQ.
Okay,
Is everybody okay with that? And then the following week, we do the RFQ.
yeah, that sounds good.
Does that sound good for everybody? It's
Yeah.
gonna be here,
That's good.
same day, same time.
Okay.
So
Yes,
next
that
week will be the
kicked off.
survey.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's good timing. Yep.
Rebecca, we got kicked off.
Rebecca, we got kicked off somehow.
Oh, we're coming back, maybe.
So yeah, that's just where we are for the survey. Basically, we can move on to the tenant outreach, but we basically just broke that right
We
on
did, we
down.
did, yeah.
So, and basically the RFQ update is exactly what I gave as well. Will be, Tim will have that completed, the draft completed next week, and we'll be able to.
Is there anybody on the call from HCHC that
Yes.
wants to talk about the
Yes.
survey?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Quentin, are you there to speak on HCHC, the survey?
If you guys want me to.
Are you okay with what we have decided on having that next week and someone from HCHC being here with us next week?
Yeah, I'll send it on to Michael to see who's available to come. But it might be better for, I know Avonlea couldn't come today, so it might be better for her next week.
Okay. So that's where we are. We just want to dig through it, and then any questions that we have, obviously, you guys will just be our support system and backup for next week. It's strictly gonna be the survey, and it's gonna start at 6 o'clock.
Right. And we'll try, I would like to have Michael drop off the hard copies, because there's
Yeah,
some
please.
real information there. So I'll try to
Yeah,
get him to
please.
have them all, drop them off by the end of the week.
That'd be great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you next week. Now we can move straight on to number 9, which is the update on offline apartments, and we'll be getting that from Tim.
Everybody has an updated sheet of
Mhm.
where we're at. Pretty good. We leased up everything that we intended to lease up, which were the units that became vacant because of people that have moved out. And of course, the 6 offline ones. So we still have a couple more to do. Number 5 and 6, we have a 5/15 lease and a 6/1 lease. But other than that, we're doing pretty well. So I just wanted to reaffirm with the board in the direction we're going. Obviously, we're moving pretty quickly with the survey results. The RFQ will be done in the draft form next week. It's likely we may have the RFQ out in June.
Maybe July. No, well, for comments, yeah.
Yeah, our timeline says that we'll be releasing in August, right? So that's the release date. So we want to be able to have everyone see it,
Okay.
everyone look it over.
Yeah.
So
Public
we want it
comment.
done-
Yeah.
Exactly, public comment. So we want to have at least 2 months,
Okay.
have everyone on board, understanding like, this is the document, this is what it is, this is what we're asking for. So everyone's on the same page. So I feel like, yeah, by
So we're
the
on
June
schedule.
meeting to have, we're on schedule.
Oh,
as of
yeah,
now.
yeah.
For
Oh,
the
yeah,
June meeting
right.
to have like a
Ahead.
real draft for our monthly meeting. So in 2 weeks, we're gonna go over it. We're gonna like comb through it, figure out
Mhm.
what we need to add, and that'll be here 6 PM, 2 weeks from now,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And then by June monthly meeting, we'll have it to really, I guess,
Final
draft to put out there
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
for people to start looking through it. And,
Mhm.
you know, we'll send it out to all these different people, all these different agencies, people that can help look it over and just make sure it's the best document ever.
I mean, we've given ourselves several weeks, but if we get it done faster,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
You know, but we've given ourselves enough time to get comments.
We're in the timeline.
We're
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
in the
yeah.
timeline.
We're
100%.
in our timeline.
Yeah. Nope, we're good.
So the question is, just to reaffirm with the board, for these 14 offline units,
Mhm.
are we still proposing to put those all online before we decide and start a project? Either option that we're discussing.
So
So that's the that's the question.
can I just say something? Because it seems like one of the biggest needs, right, in the city of Hudson is larger bedroom apartments, right? And we have, what is it, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3-bedroom apartments that
And
are.
2 4-bedroom.
What?
And 2 4.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the
No,
4-bed.
No, those are
are-
low
Low
rise.
rise,
is the
we're
low
not
rise.
Those
So-
are not
Yeah,
happening.
the 4-bedroom and the low rise, so, but I don't know how we want to do this, but, you know, obviously, we know where our need is. And I feel like our need is to have larger bedroom apartments, for people to move into, so I don't know, just want to say that, because it's like, we know that there's a need, and it's so hard to see like these 14 offline units on a piece of paper, you know?
Right.
Have we, but
There's
we,
7.
and we've budgeted for
There's
this.
7.
I mean, we've budgeted for
We
this.
budgeted it, but here's some of the challenges, right? To find contractors in Hudson is extremely challenging. Even in the county, they are flat out. They are months and months out
It's really true.
Mhm.
to try to find a contract.
Yeah.
Um,
So this is something, sorry, just to interject, but like, this is something that no matter what, like, we will be dealing with when we get to the development phase. And if we don't do something about it now, then we're gonna be dealing with this a year from now. And so that's why I think like our last conversation about workforce development is gonna become so key. Like, as far as like tenant organization and figuring all these things out, like maybe this is something that we can like unify to get people organized to be like, there's jobs out here, we'll provide the training, and then you will 100% have a job when you finish this year of schooling. Like, if we can do that, we'd be pulling off something really, I think,
I agree.
amazing. And then a year from now, if we're fitting with our timeline, then we're like, oh my gosh, we have all these people that are ready to work, trained, ready to go, to be put under whatever developer that we end up partnering with. So I'm just scared if we don't start talking about that stuff now too.
Are you suggesting that we're gonna develop like a workforce, like a trades program, like a pilot program to work on this?
I'm worried that if we don't, we won't have enough workers for the development project, or that we might come into contact with something like that.
I know somebody in Albany that just did like a small pilot with construction work where they offered it to community members. So maybe getting the non-for-profit kicked off, like that's one of the benefits of having the tenants not-for-profit. It's like people want to offer this service and they might not have to pay as much or at all for someone to provide the service if it's for the tenant. It's the tenants asking and advocating for themselves that this is a need in the community, and people honoring the fact that they were brave enough to voice their need and seek it out. So that's, I think that could come out of the tenants association.
Okay, so we should just see if anyone wants that, basically.
I agree.
Tim, do you know how long it takes to be certified for asbestos removal? If
That's
you've
probably
got,
a long time.
well, it depends. It might only be 3 months.
That's not necessarily the challenge,
Oh,
is the time to be certified.
ah,
It's all the liability that goes along with it after you're certified.
got it.
Because you have to be insured. You're talking about something that asbestos has incredible amount of liability attached to it, right? When you touch it and you're certified, you're liable, and you need coverage like you wouldn't believe. These guys that came in here, they charge astronomical rate because of the insurance they have to carry. Because they're touching something that when you say the word asbestos, everybody wants to sue, right? So there's a tremendous liability that goes along with it. That's why when we talked about having our guys do it, it just didn't make sense financially of what was going on, what we needed to do. It's cheaper to hire somebody than have our guys in the housing authority be liable and incur the cost. It's a crazy thing.
Is there a way, I mean, that we could like locate a contractor company and basically like try to get them to be like dedicated to like, basically, if we could offer, like, there's going to be all this work, if you can like really develop like a training program, like a on the job training program, like right now we have all this work and we're gonna have, I mean, because that's what is being talked about around the city because of not just in green trades, but in all of the trades. Like, is that a thing that we could do as a board?
I mean, it'd be amazing.
Yeah. I don't know how we go about that.
Can I ask a question that kind of follows up on that? Is some of the challenge that this is really technically quite a small job? So you're carrying a giant liability. You're looking at 14 apartments. Do people who do these kinds of asbestos removals tend to do large, giant projects?
Yeah, typically, I mean, it's an economy of scale type of thing.
Yeah.
Right. And, to have them come back in bits and pieces to do small projects doesn't make sense financially.
Okay.
They want to come in because they have to mobilize all their equipment. Right. They have to do negative air chambers. They have to do shower chambers, changing chambers. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. And they have to build all these in the facility, and it's just, It's crazy. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
No
you know?
wonder
Yeah.
they wanna do like a couple of.
Yeah, I know.
So
It's
we-
absolutely
So
insane.
the problem would be possibly not the same if it was the whole building, but if it's just 14 units, that's the problem really then. Is that it's too small a job.
It'd be costly. I mean, listen, remediating the hazards is a good thing, right?
Sure.
And even, but I mean, if we rehab the building, obviously,
Oh,
we're
my
one
God.
step further ahead if that's the case. But if we're taking, doing a demolition option, then, it still may defray some of the costs because, they're gonna have to remove some of the
True.
hazards before they do demo.
That's true.
But it's how much work do we want to invest in these 14 units over the next 18 months? Because we know that the way we're moving,
Something else. is
we're
gonna
we're
happen,
moving pretty quickly here.
Can I pause for a second?
Yeah.
The folks that live here, do you guys have any questions right now?
Yeah.
No? Anything? Yeah.
So if the West Tower, the whole West complex have 14 total offline apartments right now,
No, 19.
19. So the other, so 14 are in here and 5 are in the Columbia.
Six.
apartments.
14 in Bliss Towers, 6 in the low rise.
Okay, so 14 plus 6 is 20.
Yep.
So why didn't you say 19?
I'm sorry, 20.
Okay.
Sorry. You bad at math.
Yeah, very bad at math.
You're okay.
Yes.
I think we also said 19. so
We did.
times.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
I think we added one.
Yeah.
You always find one.
Yeah.
So I guess not.
Does anybody else have anything to say on that?
So what are we gonna,
What did
yeah, what are we,
She
gonna-
just-
are we tabling
I
it
mean,
for now?
Rebecca
Oh, we're
made a
gonna-
good point.
We're
Just to
gonna
be
have to
clear,
go
I
to
think
it.
what happened was we were talking about two things simultaneously, right? So we're talking about the 14 offline units.
Mhm.
We're talking about how we can't find the people to do the work to get these units online and to make sure they're asbestos remediated, like people have to take showers, do all this stuff. It's a lot. So that's the one thing, right? And then the other thing is that we're talking about basically creating a workforce development and training program for people that live here, people that live in the city of Hudson, to be able to, assist when it comes the time for development, that we have a fully trained group of people that are ready to work.
I think
And that will get good wages and all these things.
I think if we took the initiative and spoke to folks at the college and kind of just like started playing our networks and
Yeah.
created a safety net, and then we just because developing a program isn't complicated. It's like setting it up like a job fair, helping our people figure out which trade they want to be involved in, and then we would be involved in making sure that they're getting paid in some way and that they have transportation. We
Yeah.
are just like plugs.
We
Yeah.
need
We don't even need a real program. We just need to find out who's out there willing to do it
Yeah.
and how we can make sure that people get there and are compensated for their time. So,
Exactly, and provide, provide funding, acting as a grant program to pay for people's schooling, basically,
Yeah.
right?
So
Because
we
you
could do
end up investing in,
Investing.
no, what were you gonna say?
Well, just that was in the minutes from last month is
Yeah.
like you had spoken with somebody at Columbia Green,
Mhm.
Jim, about a possible fellowship or
It's the
Scholarship.
construction technology program. that
Right,
we
and
were
then
discussing. Did you
I-
end up following up with them?
So, so they don't necessarily have a program in place, but she said they would be open to having a conversation with us to figure out how to create one. We know what some of the needs are, right? We need general construction, education, plumbing and HVAC.
Yeah.
For adult learners, Questar is more for students, right? Not for adult learners. And because, we would like to continue our training, we send our staff and we have our staff do training all the time, but there's nothing for our maintenance guys really, to further their education in that position. So she said she'd be willing to work, with us.
I
Was
think
there I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was just wondering, was there a construction technology program that they have? Is it just like a small scale thing or? Cause they
I think
had-
it's small, and I think that like just keeping in mind the lens that we stated a couple meetings ago, we wanted to have, like changing the narrative, like we should reach out to as many local businesses as possible, and try to get them paid for teaching our tenants instead of going through the college first. I mean, the college will always be there. They're an institution. But there's small businesses we could support
Okay, cool.
with our money, you know what I mean?
So like the ideal situation is to organize to see, I mean, because right, we're running into the same issue, which is the fact that there's so many amazing local businesses that are doing contracting work, but they're all so busy.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's just like, it's like figuring out the mechanics of it, because it's like, if everyone's so busy, will they have time to do the training?
Yep.
And then
We won't know till we ask.
it's true. So do we want to like set a goal of like asking like 10 different or 5 even, or like a goal that we can be like, we each ask one contractor.
Yeah,
we
what their
know.
availability is, or even if they're interested in doing some type of work like that, because that's gonna knock a bunch of people off the list anyway. Like they
Cool.
might not have anybody that's even interested in teaching people the trade.
I
Yeah,
asked Harry Calico a couple of years ago, the electrician, and he was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
He wasn't into it.
yeah. I think we'll probably find varying levels of yes and no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of
so like
work
we
to
should
train people.
compile a list of the specific things we're asking for, and then like we can branch off that way.
Yeah. So basically right now my list is general construction and plumbing and HVAC
And electrical.
and electrical.
I mean, there's a, that whole green trades thing, like solar, I mean, that's not what we are talking about, but that's the other side of the training gap.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that really like, no matter what, it should exist citywide. Like, so if we can in any way help the charge for this and make sure that it gets done, then let's do it, you know?
Mhm. All right, guys, that was good. Anybody want to add anything else?
So you wanna make a goal for like by next meeting, we have some updates, like
I'm always down for goals. I love goals.
So what are we gonna do? Are we gonna table the sort of decision on the 14 then until next
Oh,
month, or do
I
we
mean,
wanna
I
decide
feel
what to
like
do?
having the 3 bedrooms just sitting there is kind of dangerous.
I know.
We
but
can,
this-
we can just concentrate on those.
Yes, please.
All right,
Mhm.
that makes sense. I think it's a great,
Yeah.
great idea,
Mhm, me
Okay.
too.
because 3 bedrooms is the demand, right?
Yeah,
So
agreed.
that's
Okay, so let's do that. I think that's.
two,
So how many is that?
Compromise.
4, that's
1,
5,
2,
8.
Yep.
3,
I- I-
4,
1, 2,
5,
3, 4,
6.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Uh,
I gotta eat.
You got
Oh, but you're looking
oh,
at the-
but you're looking at.
You're looking at the low
I'm-
rise.
Oh, okay, don't include the
we do
low
that?
rise.
Yeah, don't, well,
Can we- could we do
low
those?
I
rise?
don't know, I'm just asking.
Okay, let's
Oh.
look into it.
All
Yeah,
right.
we're all like.
Rebecca had a
really?
question. All of these on the list have asbestos, correct?
Yeah, so, yeah. We'll have to evaluate what level of remediation they're gonna need. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to take a look at it. But if we do it all at once, we can reduce the cost a little bit,
Right.
you know?
If we could do those,
I'll
if it's worth it.
I'll go into those 2
The
low
5?
rise and see how bad
3
they are, but some of them are
bedrooms
bad.
We
in the
should
low rise.
still have all the slides and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
We should
yeah.
reevaluate
just
the lower
look through
rise.
there.
Yeah.
The most
Okay.
So you don't even have to-
Okay, let's,
like
yeah,
the
let's do
5
that.
and the
Okay.
4
I do just want to say, just like, oh wait, were you still saying something?
Yeah,
I was
Claire
just-
was,
Yeah, I
okay.
was just saying, like, if we do the 3 bedrooms in the high rise, we should reevaluate the 4 and 5 bedrooms in the low rise.
Yeah.
Or one of each, at least.
Okay.
Guess just seeing how many of the low rise units we can get.
How can it, if it can be done?
There
Mhm.
were, like, I remember when we.
I would have to look at
walked
the
through them.
slides.
Exactly. I'll send
Mhm.
us all the slides again.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was one that had a hole in the
Yeah.
ceiling that was like,
Yeah.
there was a couple of units that just seemed like.
Like, even if even if it could be one, but like to know that we have 5 and 4 bedrooms even available,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's not even houses for rent with 4 and 5
I know.
bedrooms.
so
No,
true.
I know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so true.
Yeah. It's just.
Okay. All
So
right.
we're
That's
we
good.
make a resolution?
So let's, yeah, I say we make a resolution on that. You
I
guys
don't
want to
think
do
we
that?
need to.
Oh,
I
No,
okay, cool.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So back to so we're each gonna contact some contractors.
We're gonna make a list.
I'm
of-
down.
or
I have a
somebody's gonna
couple,
pick
I have a couple
Yeah.
that I know actually that one is for the plumbing and heating. which is,
Doesn't what's his name do,
what's his name? Yes, okay.
So do you want me to, I can send us all an email
Mhm.
and just be like, here are the things we're looking for. And then we can each find like,
Decipher what works.
exactly.
Let's do it.
Cool. Okay, so I will make a note that I will do that.
Does that sound good with everyone? Okay. I just wanted to squeeze in there and let everybody know Rebecca and I had an amazing HCDPA meeting yesterday. It was really good. And I made some requests. And I did request their land on State Street side, also their Mill Street and their 1 Lombard. And I let them know that I want to add it in our RFQ. And so I would like the answer as soon as possible. So next month's meeting of our HCDPA, I'm hoping that Rebecca and I will be tearing down some walls and getting an answer.
So did you talk to Brenda about making sure that's on the agenda for next?
Yes,
Awesome.
and she is.
Cool.
And she said she'll give us information by next week, like on the titles and like all that other stuff. Yeah.
And just one question, because I know that piece of land has what used to be like a city road running through it. So it's like blank space basically, and it's like completely unassessed. So
They consolidated that.
boom.
They consolidate. I don't know what side, it's either 22 or 26, but they just put that road right with that. So
Okay,
we would get
cool.
it all.
Okay.
Possibility.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
This
The empire.
specifically, like the land that we're talking about is like the land right down there, like on the corner of State. Just so you know.
I know where you're going.
Yeah.
more room to go.
Exactly.
Exactly.
More housing. Number 10, unfortunately, we don't have Robert here with us tonight. He had to work, so we can't get a report from the resident commissioner. But can I get a motion to adjourn? Oh,
Do you
public
want-
comment, yeah.
Can I just ask one thing that we would love to do?
Okay.
And I would love to trade places.
I don't know about law.
Trading places right now. I'm gonna not be the treasurer and she's gonna be the treasurer.
Love is a very strong term.
Well, don't,
But
you have to step down
You do.
and then
Right,
someone
I would love to
nominates.
step
Exactly.
down
Oh,
as
okay.
the treasurer
Okay,
and then I would love to nominate Marie to be the treasurer.
So how does it?
so
You
Tim,
don't have
tell
to
us
go
how
to-
to.
So,
Step down, we all
yeah,
vote
so-
on it.
yeah, so you would just announce that you want to resign from your position, and then we would just need a motion and a second to nominate Marie,
Mhm.
and then we would vote on that nomination. Pretty easy.
Okay, so
So I resign as treasurer.
Rebecca Wolf
Okay.
is resigning.
So I need
Thank you
a,
for your service.
My pleasure. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Yes.
so I need a motion to select a replacement for Rebecca.
I'll make that motion to select the replacement treasurer.
A
And
second.
Should I nominate?
Yep,
I nominate Marie Ballard.
okay,
Is that how
I
you-
second that.
okay. There's a motion, a second.
No.
Are there any other nominations?
There is not.
If not, then we'll take a vote. All in favor of having Marie as the treasurer for the board?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Yeah. All right, now that you're here, now for the budget subcommittee. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, I'm ready. I am, I'm ready. I'm ready for the budget subcommittee.
Public comment. Would anybody in the public like to ask any questions?
We did get a submission. I guess it's the
Oh.
same thing as the comment section.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
The one girl that was here with the short haircut, she lives in the building. She's on the 7th floor.
Yeah.
She wanted to make a complaint about the roaches.
Uh-huh.
It's still a problem. It's getting worse,
It's getting
obviously, because it's getting warmer, but just an update for the tenants maybe on what efforts are being provided.
We have the exterminator in here every week. He goes through, we have a comprehensive spreadsheet on all the apartments, their conditions, the level of infestation. We've identified those that are problem areas. Those that are problem areas, we schedule within that week extra treatments. It's been an ongoing problem in the building forever. It's a very, yes, it's a very difficult problem to solve. And really, it isn't so much about what the exterminator is doing as it is as much as educating the residents on what they need to do to help minimize.
Well, you're not gonna get rid of them in this building anyway, regardless of how many exterminators.
You're probably,
Because you're built on a dump, number one here. And they're coming out of the electrical sockets, they're coming out of the walls, they crawl up out of the elevators, I watched it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're not getting.
That's
rid
a
of
question I had too,
them.
like,
You're
if,
wasting money.
if we demolished,
Mhm.
how long do you have to wait for them to disperse before, like, it
Well,
makes sense to build?
and that's a
without
good
them?
question. No, that's a great question, because typically before any demolition occurs, the contractor is supposed to bait the perimeter of the building before it's demolished for rodents,
Mhm.
right? And they're supposed to treat before they
Yeah,
demolish.
like they
So
wouldn't run
they
over
would
the
be
city.
doing the same thing here. Before they do a demolition, if that's the course of action we take,
I just pictured a
they'll
horror
take the
movie.
necessary
Like
precautions to make sure that the rodents and the pests are not moving. But Michael makes a really good point, right? There are a lot of things that that are inherent with the building that proliferate the problem that we have. We have the interior garbage chutes,
Yeah, that's like.
right? We clean those every 3 months, but still, it's an area where they harbor and they
Sure.
breed.
Yeah.
Our garbage is stored inside the building because we have no other place to do it. When we redesign, that's something that has to be looked
Sure.
at. The garbage has to be removed
Remove
Oh
from
my,
the building.
oh my God, yes.
and find a way how we can redesign the interior garbage chutes to be on the exterior, so it's not in the center of the building.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
So these are all
We
reasons.
won't have garbage chutes because we're not gonna build a high rise, right?
right.
Well, if that's what direction we go, sure. So these are things that can really help that. And, you know, when we had PRC, the previous developer on board, you know, we talked about how and they designed special ways to address that problem. But again, we have residents that have pets. Pets are a large problem because the water's left out on the floor, the food's left out on the floor, and those are breeding areas. And it's hard to monitor and enforce that, you know? You know, because your pet wants to eat and drink water throughout the day. It's hard to pick that up and put it away and cover it.
I
So,
do.
yeah,
I only feed it, I give them water 3 times a day.
yeah,
feed them
and that
once a day.
helps, and that helps. And we've had experts after experts in here
Yeah.
looking at the problems, you know, and again, it boils down to, you know, education and, you know, hoping that the residents, you know, do what they're supposed to do to help minimize the impact. But it's going to be an ongoing problem. It's everywhere, you know, it really is. We try to do our best. We do have a comprehensive approach. We do sprays, we bait, we do monitoring traps, we do inhibitors, we do ports in the wall, we do it all. We do it all.
Yeah.
And he's here every week.
All of
That
it.
was the whole thing, is that like the exterminator, I remember talking to him and he said that they started implementing this thing with the nymphs, basically making it so growth inhibitors. So it's like
Yes,
the cockroaches are still there, but they don't ever grow to a stage where they're actually having babies.
they're little
basically.
tiny, yep.
Yeah, and so like we were waiting a couple of months to see if that actually was working, if I remember correctly. And like literally, there was someone from like Cornell that came to survey all of the extermination, and there's a report. Anyone who wants to see this, this is just.
Mhm.
There
you
was
know,
a Cornell
access to
person
it.
running workshops here, I seem to recall not long ago.
It would
Yeah,
have been the same
yeah.
person, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, you know, we have a high density building. You know, you go to Hoppano's, you got 10 smaller buildings.
Mhm.
So if there are issues, it's easier to control, right? Because you can isolate those. You know, So the density of building creates a lot of challenges, right?
Space to hide.
Absolutely. And, you know, you have literally, if one bad person in the building has an issue, it can affect the entire building. Whereas
Well,
if
right,
it's,
that's what we were saying before. It's like you can, if you do it floor by floor, they just move to the next floor and then you do this floor and then
Yeah.
go back to where you just took care of and above to the next floor. So
Yep. Yeah, we understand, we sympathize every day, trust me. And we try to do our best to deal with the problem. And like Claire said, it spikes, you know, certain times of the year, obviously.
Warmer weather, like that.
But we have an
And with the rain.
extensive cleaning program. We clean the lobbies every day. We clean the elevators. We clean the hallways. We clean the chutes where a professional company comes in. Yeah, and we're on the exterminator. We have guys that walk around with them through all the units. And we do have some challenges with some residents who do not allow us to come in and treat in some of these areas, and we try to work with them as well. So
Maybe there's a way to like, because there's the need for education through the NYSERDA grant. So maybe there's a way to like add additional education opportunities through the NYSERDA grant, like some way.
yeah,
to,
I
you
think
know.
we're open
Why
to that.
not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, get rid of it, unless you demolish
Yeah.
the building. There, where you, it's not a dump.
It's not in every apartment. I've
Right.
been to a couple apartments in the
Yeah.
building that they're just fine. Like my apartment,
Yeah,
I don't
some
have
can
no
be, yeah.
roaches. I mean, I have like one or two, but I killed them. I killed them, right? I stepped on them. You know, you see them in the hallway, you step on them. You don't walk down the hallway like there's one in the building, you know? You know,
They got
I mean, like, what, anytime you get a chance to step on them, bitches, step on them.
That could actually be what part of the education.
They
Step on it.
they're like, you got, they adapt real quick to the different pesticides and whatever, so they're a strong insect.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you gotta constantly change
Mhm.
The treatment,
the
yeah.
treatment
Mhm.
that you use, but
Yeah.
that's probably gonna cost money, but still, that's what it is, that's what has to be done. I mean, you know, just to say like, you know, you gotta trick them up, you know?
Yeah, no, if he's right, because, and we acknowledged that a while back ago, because they were just coming in and spraying. And spraying isn't the only solution. That's why we started doing the monitoring traps, the growth inhibitors, the ports. So
Yeah,
we're using a comprehensive approach. Not, the spray isn't gonna do it
No,
alone.
no.
It does an initial knockdown, but it's not a long-term solution to the problem, the other parts.
Speaking to what,
Does boric acid work on roaches?
No, and that's dangerous,
Yeah.
especially we have children
Kids.
and family. And that's the
Pets.
other challenge, you know, we have a mixed population building, you know, and so there's, you know, you have children, you know, and there's just a lot of challenges with that. you know,
Immune
pets and-
compromised people with immune problems.
Yep,
Yeah.
I
yep.
think going to what Rebecca was saying about like finding money for education. Who would we bring in to educate? Like,
No, I just mean that since we have this grant, where we have to provide like food production and preservation education, it's like, it just seemed like maybe it's tied in, but maybe
Oh,
not.
that's true.
We have
Yeah.
we have a woman that came in maybe a year and a half ago. She specializes in this. She's from Cornell University.
Yeah.
I think her name was Jennifer.
Yeah, she
You
was-
called her,
Yeah,
right?
she was really nice.
She would be more than happy to come back, and she's an expert.
She was really enthusiastic about
Yeah.
all things cockroach. I
Yeah.
do just want to say that, you know, it shouldn't end up being a requirement to live at the housing authority to be a cockroach expert, you know? So I just, it's, yeah.
Yeah, but education is key, you know, and knowing what you should be doing to prevent things, you know. So,
it is, but it's redundant. So all I was gonna say was just like whoever we decide to bring in, just make sure that they understand that this is not new information to our tenants.
Yeah.
And like not waste their time,
Yeah.
give them end of the tunnel vision.
Yeah.
For like
Yeah.
how to preserve their things
Yeah.
Mhm.
over their homes. Like if we're doing a new project, this is what you need to do to protect your belongings so that they can go with you, type of thing. Instead of talking about things that, I mean, they are experts. They've
Yeah,
been living in
exactly.
this
It's like we
situation
could-
for decades,
Yeah,
so.
if he could give this.
Yeah.
And you know, this
Good.
refrigerator program that we're embarking on, this is a good step
Yes.
in this effort to reduce the roaches, because once the seals are bad
Yeah.
around the
Yeah.
refrigerator, it emits an odor that attracts roaches.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important to keep like refrigerators new and the seals around the doors, you know, new and functioning properly. Because they can also draw roaches.
And maybe with that education program, we can help our tenants also because they're using their own resources to do things like caulking for that reason.
Yeah.
Like they're in there fixing their own apartments constantly, buying their own traps and things like that. So
Yeah,
keeping that in mind, because
Yeah.
that's an expense.
yeah,
That's
it
an
is.
expense.
It
That's
is.
an expense.
Yeah. I think anybody that, you know, wants additional preventative materials, we can provide that for them.
Okay,
you
that's
know,
good to know.
Especially like traps.
That's
Traps are very inexpensive, you know, monitoring traps. And they're important because it shows the level of activity along with, and it actually traps the
Right.
insects. So, and that's what we use. The traps are dated, they're time stamped. So when they come in, they know exactly what the level has been for that period. So,
Wow, that's interesting.
yeah, they do a pretty good job, but, you know, it's a big building. Like Michael said, you know, it's a big building.
Built on a dump, like you said.
A landfill, I think it was a
Yeah,
landfill,
there
right?
was.
Yeah.
I think, we're done C and D here though. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But why is
I
it in
did
some
nothing.
people's house, but
Please.
not in everybody's house?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, like some, like I've been to some like the corner apartments, like they have like a lot of massive roaches. They just come out of nowhere. Even the people that just move in, they just
Yep.
come. They be caught like
They,
the sport, they
you can
just
sit
coming
in
out.
your
of
apartment and
anywhere.
watch them, they come right out of your
But
light
like
socket.
really, they're not in
Wow.
like the middle apartments, really.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is.
That's why we need this
There's a couple apartments on each side, like the side ones, the corner ones, they
Yep.
all got the roaches.
Yeah,
It's
the wings.
because the outside of the building is
Yeah.
starting to permeate
Yep.
with water, so
Oh,
they stick
the
to
soil.
where
That's
the
the
moisture
water.
is.
Yep,
Oh.
absolutely.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
You had
And
something?
so our
Martha?
wings are
Yes,
the
she wants
areas
to
where
say
there's
something.
the highest activity.
Yeah, she has a comment.
Yeah, I do have a comment, okay? And the stove,
Mhm.
they come and eat the stove too. The roaches does.
Okay.
I see a couple came eat the stove.
So there's food under there.
I have some water. Yeah, of course.
And sometimes the food is, sometimes don't be food in it. I know about roaches. I used to
She
live
don't
around roaches. I know how they come out.
Right.
Yo, is there a way we're gonna get, excuse me, is there a way we're gonna get like universal, like, I mean, in the building, like internet or something? Like, so we
Oh
don't
yeah,
have,
what's the update? on
That's so
that?
funny that she said, ask that.
like,
Go.
internet, like, all
Tell
through
me
the
what our
building,
goal
you know? So, like, we could all be like on one accord, you know?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like, they got this Zoom thing going, I mean, this Zoom thing, and people, they're working from home, and they're going to school from home and everything, and a lot of people don't have full access to what is needed that they need to move forward, you feel me? So, like, what's happening with that? Did I say that right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you,
so,
absolutely. And I know the board had a conversation about it.
We
and I
did.
believe there, as state legislation has passed, and probably our Representative Delgado would probably know
yeah,
about that.
our local
program.
cable companies,
Yeah.
yeah, and internet companies.
Yeah,
But
so
we,
I think they're having a conversation about it.
Mhm.
The
There's
sta-
all these conversations, I mean, it's what's
Yeah.
needed, you know,
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
all these conversations, and then they.
I'm not having.
so,
I mean,
She
no,
doesn't
I'm
know
not
about the new
saying-
bill. She doesn't know
I mean,
yet.
they have
I'm with you.
They have all these conversations
I know.
about what is needed, and then they say no because of such and such and such, and then we're all stuck back where we're from the beginning again.
Yeah, Vonda has a real update.
Yeah.
Vonda has a
Oh,
real
okay.
update. Like, I answer.
so we actually had, Shaheem's company, what is it called?
Unity Now.
We actually had Unity Now come here and go on the roof to see what they can do for you guys. But unfortunately, the roof is not secure enough to be able to place their satellite type system up there. So we knew that it couldn't work for this building, but in our development that we're doing in our RFQ, we are absolutely adding in universal internet for like everyone. So that is the goal. And we tried to get it like up and running like 4 or 5 months ago, but unfortunately.
That's coming. That's what they were talking about, the state conversation.
Getting cable in all the apartments and things.
That's what's.
Because then that would include the.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Yeah.
Okay, and, that's all I have there.
So the survey that we collected the data on was asking residents what they would prefer as far as like, we have money to do this big project, and the big project could either be to rehab Bliss or to start from scratch and reimagine this entire property with there was storefronts presented, all those things.
Yeah.
So that's what she's talking about. She's talking about adding it into the new project. But there's an organization out there that was looking to do a computer literacy program for folks that are doing Zoom, and like maybe helping them find places that they could do their meetings, if not from home, because we were waiting to hear from Shaheem about getting universal Wi-Fi for here, but the state is working on that anyway. So it's soon coming, but we don't have an exact timeline of when the state is gonna pass. It's gonna be through Mid-Hudson Cable.
Oh, okay.
Because it's gonna go through everybody's local cable company.
We have to figure it out.
But they're close.
Right.
Close.
Right.
So soon.
Can I just add one last thing?
Sure.
I just want to say again that we do have an opening on the board for like resident commissioner. And so just all three of anyone who's here today, if you want to do this, sit on the. Okay, well, if you
Maybe you know somebody
yeah,
that
if you know
way.
anyone that you're like, I think your voice should be on this board, please, let them know. They just need 10 signatures, that's it. And we definitely need, another resident commissioner working with us, just like you're working with us,
Yeah.
Maybe you.
You can do it.
I do it now.
I can do it.
Yeah, I'll sign it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I'm from Albany, I've been through Albany Health Authority Department.
Oh, yeah, so you can
Yeah,
do it.
in Albany. It's the same thing going on down here, going like in Albany too. I've been there.
So you gotta like I said, put your name in there.
If we need you too.
Yeah.
Come on, Iffy. Stop on them bitches.
Okay, I put my name down, because I'm from Albany anyway. I know about the project and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay. Yes, Deb. How beautiful.
This is exciting.
But like the one
Yeah.
down here is about the same thing. Okay, Albany wants the problem to get done the right way, like he does.
Right.
But we gotta work in it together.
Yeah.
Now one of us, all of us got put together to work it out.
Yeah.
There's that campaign.
Yep, there you go.
If you live in Albany House Project and everything. Yeah, they go around, kick the doors at nighttime, make sure the doors locked up and everything.
Wow. Wow, that's a intense.
They don't care.
We don't want to do that here.
The bathroom downstairs unlocked, locked all day, like the bathroom down here. And the little one by the old, what's that?
By
The
the-
laundromat.
Yeah.
They're locked.
No, yeah, they're.
These aren't locked.
They're not locked?
The community room door.
But have you?
The community room's open.
Well, now, it hasn't been.
Yeah, well, it's open now.
Yeah, I know, I thought that.
Yeah. But those bathrooms are open all the time.
When did this happen though, that you came to them and they
Well,
weren't open?
I'm just first time saying this.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm just, cause before I used to go like, but I would go washing or whatever, and I can't make it upstairs all the time.
Yeah.
And there's a bathroom right there, and by the little laundromat, and they open it, and you can't open it, it's locked. And I'm like, darn it, I gotta go all the way up to my floor and use the bathroom, you know, and then a lot of people aren't as fast as I am or as capable as other people to move up that fast. They be peeing in their pants, peeing on the elevator. Then you got peeing on the elevator because somebody couldn't make it to the bathroom. You know, I'm like, I mean, I understand, like, you probably try not to get certain people to come in because people are crazy and they do things in the bathroom that they shouldn't be doing, but in all reality, you can't stop life from happening, you know? Because, I mean, we in the building know what it's for, but those people, I mean, other people, I don't know what, but it's true, but other people are gonna make it bad for other people, but as far as us in this building, we need it, you know? I mean.
That goes back to the point Robert made about the fobs. Did we ever get any more information about fobbing up those different spaces so that only residents have access? Robert,
With the key fobs. Remember how we discussed the stairwell?
Yeah.
to get into the
Right.
stairwell and
Yeah.
the laundry room
Yeah.
and the bathroom.
Was there anything
Yeah.
on that?
I think, he wanted to get an estimate, right? Of
Yeah.
what it would cost
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think we reached out to Tyco. I'll have to check. to
Okay.
see
Please.
What
Yeah.
that cost is, but it's not our policy to lock the bathrooms. I know some of the doors, depending on if whatever resident is in there, if you turn the little button one way, it automatically locks it. It stays locked when you close it. So you have to, you know, we have to keep checking to see how they use the lock on it. Yeah,
makes
if the button stays out, it'll stay
Yeah,
open, but
makes sense.
sometimes they'll keep it pushed in
Yeah.
and it automatically locks when they leave.
Yeah.
So, but these, we keep them open. We don't lock the bathrooms.
Oh.
So if they're closed or locked,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Now,
All right.
Well, now it's open, yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's when I'm sorry.
I think we need to, I think us in this building need to get ourselves together. You know,
Okay.
and have a meeting, find out what need to get done, what don't need to get done. And
Okay.
stop arguing with people in this building. You know, my apartment is nice and clean, but I keep it clean. You know, I'm not, I'll do nobody in their apartment. That's how I was raised up in Albany Housing Authority. They taught me, make sure your apartment is clean. You know?
And mine, it should be
That's it.
common sense to have your house clean.
Yeah.
Really, nobody should tell you how your house clean. If you wanna live in a dirty house, that's your problem. If you wanna have roaches going around, that's
That's
all.
right.
you.
That's
That's
right.
all you.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that we want from the Tenants Association. Like, we want people to feel like we care about the building, so then
Yeah.
the people that live here will care about the
Yeah.
building. I mean, how much you care about how you live in your home and you want to keep it nice as possible. But there's some people that are like deterred from and feel hopeless because they're watching the building crumble, you know? So like in a new space, as long as we can keep that momentum of like making people feel empowered and like providing them cleaning supplies every few months and like making it an incentive to take care of your space and keep agency over your space, it could be a brand new narrative out here.
Yeah.
If you need help with your apartment, ask somebody to come and help you out.
You know,
Mhm.
and that's a good
I
thing.
used to work in a hotel. I know how to keep apartment clean.
I think it's just really a waste of time to tell people how to clean up their own goddamn damn house. What is that? I mean, you need all this for somebody to tell you to clean your house? You know, I mean, like, really? You feel me?
I feel you,
Like,
Greg.
you don't know where dirt is?
Yeah. So you gotta expect to come into your apartment and check the apartment out.
You know, that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel that's.
Maybe that's a thing that we could do, like when inspections are coming around, have a service, like offer that.
No, but people
I'm down
always
for
wonder,
all of that.
and then they just wonder like, what's
I was
going
there
on?
once before, like,
Yeah, because I think the Mental Health Association helps with that, right?
Let's see, this on the floor, that on the floor, that on the floor. And then just walking, we just walking by like.
Because they do have like a hoarder program. Yeah. I had asked him to reach out to them about that, and he said he would. Because
I know it left a
two
lot of-
tenants reached out to me and
It left-
wanted me to come help them.
And a lot of people now.
Yeah.
Like the
Oh,
amount-
interesting.
It is.
Yeah. Any other public comment, anyone?
I don't know if there's an actual number.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no, I think we're back in Tim's.
That's a good question. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have something you want to say? Or you did?
Oh, I just asked for a second about the amount that we're charged at the housing authority for reporting people. I was just.
Oh,
asking
okay.
that. I'm fine. I'm done.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Third, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Any
everyone.
opposed?
I want to keep going.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Shaheen. Thank you,
Thank you.
Alinda. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Have a wonderful night.